Tony and Mike and Scott's Halloween special.
Okay, he's Tony, I'm Mike, that's Scott, and we're here for a Halloween special. So we're gonna talk about the Vigil, Spiral, Nocturne, and a ton of other shit.
Basically, this is our recommendations for what you should watch and what you should skip. So it's Tony and Mike and Scott's long and dirty.
This is dirty.
This is dirty. So, anyways, the reason why this whole thing started is Scott. Well, here I'll let you tell it. What you do every year for Halloween?
What I do,
Yeah.
as far as watching the best horror movies since last year.
Yeah.
Is that what you're? Yeah, I redo it, and then I refer them all to Dino. I actually not even October. I do it all year long, probably, but obviously it ramps up. But I usually watch all of the best movies. I have blogs and everything that I follow. I watch stuff I try not to know anything about, or as little as possible. When I go into a movie, I just find it more fun. Especially like the foreign ones. I just go basically on recommendations alone. If I see it on 3 or more sites, chances are it's worth at least checking it out. So that's what I did. I come up with a list, and then the message in Dino or Mike, it's Tony and Mike, not Tony and Dino. I was like, hey, it's like we should do a thing on like our favorite movies, like current, or at least the last 2 years or so, that people might want to check out, or as Tony said earlier, might want to skip even. So we all gave suggestions via text message, I believe, the text group, and they're like, well, let's get together sometime and hash it out.
So here we are.
Here we are.
So I was gonna say, let's start off with our special guest, because he did kick it off, and the movie that Scott recommended was The Vigil.
Yes.
Yeah, I recommended 2, but only one of them got viewed, so we'll do the one. I can still mention the other one later if we have time, though, because I find it was worth watching. Having said it, yeah, The Vigil. Like, well, real quick, what did you guys think? Like, I don't want to go into this all that it's awesome. You guys are like, oh, I hated it.
No, I genuinely really enjoyed it. It's an odd movie in that it's very much a formula movie, but it's got enough elements in it that it was a complete surprise, and there was a lot of expectations that I was completely kind of sideswiped by this one. I didn't see a lot of it coming. So for me, it's a big recommend. I really enjoyed it. It's in the top 5 movies that I have watched in the last month or so. And so, Mike, what about you?
I liked it. It's cool because it's a story you've seen before. It's the loss of faith, but it's done from a Jewish perspective, which is unique. And so I enjoyed that a lot. The actor, I don't remember his name, but he carries that movie. And he carries it very well. The acting is really good there, and even the supporting characters, the old lady who he's sitting in the vigil with, and the I guess it's his rabbi buddy who's trying to get him back into the fold.
He's not a rabbi. He's a Hasidic Jew, but he is a devout Hasidic Jew.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think they said it was his cousin.
I don't know. Maybe.
So
it could be. But at any rate, yeah. So he goes to that whole event and comes out the end, better. But I like how he didn't like where his buddy was like oh, so you had a good evening and you had some revelations and that, and well, you're ready to come back to it's not church, what do they call it?
A temple.
And he's like, no, I'm good.
Right.
So yeah, it was really good. There's only a couple things I didn't like about it, and these are nitpicky things, really nitpicky. One is just the music is really loud, the sound effects are really loud and obnoxious, especially like the bone cracking that goes on. It is like just absurdly loud. And I wish they would have had some more ethnic music to go along with it, as opposed to the kind of electronic score. But again, I'm nitpicking. It's a solid recommend, though.
Yeah, it's a solid recommend, but I'm going to say, like, this is one of those movies that it gets mood and atmosphere spot on. This is
all day
like one
long.
of those movies that if you're
Yeah.
sitting in a dark room and you're watching this, there are some genuinely make your skin crawl, creepy ass moments in it. So,
And there's
what
no
I love
contrivances in it either. Like, there's nothing in it like where you have to make something up or some potholes in it, and everything like just works like straight through. Like where he tries to leave, but they show why he can't leave. Why he can't leave the house, and it works great. I love it.
I'll add on to the couple of things I liked were simplistic. One was the Jewish tradition based around it, because I can't think of another horror movie that's even got that. So that's highly original.
Yeah.
Two, it's one of those that less is more. There's not a ton of effects or a ton going on. Like you said, atmosphere. I'm a big atmosphere guy, so no wonder I love this movie. They do a lot with a little.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I liked is the human element. To add on what you were saying is that this entity, spirit, whatever it is, how they mentioned that it attaches to broken people. And then come to find out, this guy does have some heavy, not even one, has a couple, without spoilers, a couple of heavy things that happen that sort of explain that. And it's very human.
Yes.
And I even reading, the guy that wrote and directed the movie, I mean, he did go to rabbi school. He did, there's a lot of truth, or I guess research, maybe you could say, details in this. And the sense that even when he was going to rabbi school after that, he was worked with home health care with elderly who had some issues and things like that. And so there's a lot of that put into the old woman in the house, and just a lot of cool little details. Like another big one, the biggest one I actually jotted down, was very realistic. For example, when he first gets the inkling that this body under the sheet moves or has something crazy, he gets his phone and he texts someone. He just says, "Hey." Like, he doesn't text like OMG, blah, blah. He's like, hey. Like, it's very realistic. Like, I could see myself texting that. It's very funny. Apparently he like ad-libbed that and they kept it. But yeah, it's very good. Highly recommended. Genuinely creepy. Like you said, heavy atmosphere. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. I also like how the for lack of a better word, demon messes with this guy throughout that movie. Yeah. Some very unique ways of doing it, as opposed to your typical possession type of thing, or what's that piece of crap we watched?
James Wan is what you're getting at. This is the anti-James Wan movie. This is actually a horror film that's scary, as opposed to a horror film that's not really a horror film. It's just kind of a crappy action film. But the lighting's good. So,
but even more than that, like going back to like what I was talking about, really was The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Yeah. Where it's like some bullshit demon stuff. This is much better
and much more relatable, to be honest. This is one that honestly I'm gonna hunt this one down on Blu-ray. I'm gonna add this to my collection, because I never would have found this without Scott's recommendation. So I
wouldn't either.
A big fan of this one.
Good job. All right. Do you want to talk Nocturne next?
No, it's your turn, because you.
So
I picked a dud out of the bunch. I picked Spiral.
I wouldn't say dud. I would not say that, but go ahead.
I would.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to compare it to Saw, because it's based in the Saw universe. I did like Chris Rock in it, and I kind of like the buddy cop thing they had going on there. But at the same time, it's not supposed to be a buddy cop kind of movie. So it's like they were trying to cross Seven with Saw.
A little bit, yeah. I definitely got that vibe. You can see the influences all over this movie. And let's be honest. Is it a bad movie? No. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a horror movie? No. It's torture porn. I'm just gonna call it what it is. It is legitimately, it is a setup with an excuse to torture bad people.
Yeah.
And because here's the funny thing about it is like every set, and this isn't a spoiler because it's a Saw movie, you know, well, if you want to live you have to do this, but if not you're gonna die, and yet somehow everyone manages to die anyway. So
That's what I didn't like
that make
either,
it a
because
horror
most
movie,
like in
though?
the Saw movies, like they don't do what they're supposed to do. When they do, it's like too late. These motherfuckers like are just trying to save their own ass, and it didn't matter. But yeah, it's trying to be Seven and it fails, and it tries to be Saw, and it kind of fails there too. It's got Samuel L. Jackson for all of 5 minutes in it. It's like, why even have him in there if you're not going to really utilize them? And they had that kind of fake out with who the killer ends up being, and it's like, and it's like, that something's wrong because they didn't show that guy's death all the way through. You're like, red flag, red herring. Here we go. And sure enough, I mean, you kind of know who the killer is at the end. I mean, there were some kind of unique kills, and then some of the setups are kind of neat. I like the very first kill with McMurray from Letterkenny.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Did you watch Letterkenny?
I do not.
No,
no.
Oh.
But I was
For
agreeing
you
with
fans
the
that watch
first kill.
Letterkenny,
The
Mick
first
Murray
kill
dies
was
first.
creative and gross, so which is what they were going for, so it worked.
See,
Yeah,
here was
so,
my
I mean,
one issue.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say Dino and I talked about this off camera, and actually about a week ago. Is my issue, if you're going to have Chris Rock in a horror movie, to do something different, and I do think it's a horror movie, but we can come back to that. It's fine. I like when actors step outside their genre, do something different. But then I want him to do something different. The very opening scene with him, he's giving one-liners about Forrest Gump, and he's joking he's doing a bit. He's doing a Chris Rock. And so now it's Chris Rock to me. I have no suspension of disbelief. That's a comedian. That's Chris Rock now. Yeah, I would. They didn't need that. They did not need that at all. If they would have kept that serious tone, so now I'm expecting him to say one-liners the rest of the movie. Like, so it just didn't. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna Chris Rock do it something different, have him do something different. And same with Samuel L. Jackson. He gives that same stupid glare that he does in every movie, but he stares at people menacing. It's not necessary. Yeah, like, so if you're gonna do Chris Rock, don't have him doing a comedy bit at the beginning of the movie. It just threw me off from the start.
I completely agree with you there. Chris Rock, he could be a fine dramatic actor. The thing that threw me off was they were going to the drug bust. They were busting the drug house, and there was that shot, and it was straight out of New Jack City. And that was the shot that immediately, like, yep, that's Chris Rock, and yep, Chris Rock is going, hey, remember New Jack City? Well, I'm doing this one now, and I get to be a cop this time.
Yeah.
Don't they actually even say New Jack City? I think they actually name drop that.
I think so too.
I think they name drop it.
Yeah.
In the movie, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I agree with you, Scott. I think that Chris Rock has the chops to be a solid dramatic actor. And I'd like to see him actually do more of that, but we can do without the references to his stand-up routines. So,
but he does a season of Fargo recently where he does dramatic acting, and he does well in it. Yeah.
So I mean, shit, Tom Hanks, who's like, America's biggest actor. If you got a dramatic role and you get Tom Hanks, you're gold. But he was originally Bachelor Party and Bosom Buddies, he started out as a comedian. And it was nice to see him leave that behind. So I'm totally okay with Chris Rock going, you know what, I'm gonna skip out on the comedy from now on. I'm okay with that. Why do you think it is a horror movie as opposed to, I think it's just torture porn. For me, this falls more into that like Hostel category and Cabin Fever.
Torture porn is horror though. It's just a subgenre of horror.
Horror is a sub of the word horrific, and isn't torture porn pretty horrific?
Yes, it is.
It is, but for me, like, a horror movie is intended to frighten, to scare, and I do get that torture porn being that subgenre. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is like one of those things that it goes back to the 70s. There's this really bad movie called The Wizard of Gore, and it was probably the first like big underground torture porn film, and it's like they do these scenes that are intended to just kind of disgust. And the scenes in The Wizard of Gore just go on for minute after minute after minute, and it'll be like, he's sticking his hand inside of a wound and moving it around and just trying to make it as distasteful as possible. So that's the reason why I don't really consider torture porn horror, is because it's intended to elicit disgust, not suspense and scare. It's intended to make you want to throw up in your popcorn bucket. So
and that's fair enough. But I mean, what doesn't really scare and mostly disgust us might scare others too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I see both points. I see your side, but I still say it's something horrific, just like a home invasion movie. It's not going to really be scary, but it's going to be scary to some people. And even if the guy like Wizard of Gore, doesn't mean the director's going to hit his marks when he's going up. I mean, he may have failed heavily at it, but yeah. So in my opinion, it's a horror movie, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And like I said, that's just my own personal take on it. I am not as much as I'm a big fan of horror films, I am not a big fan of torture porn. And I mean, this goes all the way back to like the original Hostel and the Human Centipede and that kind of thing.
What about Faces of Death?
Oh yeah, Faces of Death.
Actually, the thing about Faces of Death is they present it as a documentary, even though it's anything but. Spoiler alert, but I don't know if I would consider that one torture porn. It rides the line between mockumentary and torture porn, but I do understand why you would say that, because everybody remembers the electric chair scene and the gas chamber scene from the original Faces of Death movies. But there was a lot more going on there, because I remember there was a part in the movie, the first one anyway, about the guy that was being frozen after death with hopes of being reincarnated in the future. So I think initially Faces of Death started off as a investigation into the various ways that people die and what they think of death and how they experience death, and dying from a heart attack or dying from being in a car. But after that first movie, it devolved into, we just happened to catch footage of this person getting hit by a train. Let's put it on the screen, Bob. Yeah. So it didn't start there, but it most definitely ended up being torture porn. And then it wound up being a parody of itself, because I remember there was like a nuclear waste pond and someone was swimming in it and they were supposedly eaten by radioactive leeches.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
And they died. Unfortunately, they had it all on camera, and it's like, really? I'm supposed to buy this
Wasn't one
shit?
of those the guy that parachuted into an alligator pit or something like that?
Yeah, I remember that. And it's so obvious not real footage of that. It's so obviously like they got stock footage of alligators and cut it in there.
Like, the camera's being awfully still while filming this. Like, that guy's completely got pressure.
So, but yeah, I mean, Eli Roth, Cabin Fever rides the line probably better than anything else. And I bring this up because I brought up Hostel, because Cabin Fever, it is grotesque. It has some gross out moments in it, but its bones is generally, there's a mystery there. There is more going on than just people being, butchered, for lack of a better phrase. But yeah, Hostel, like everything from there on, when it's just like, hey, let's, and I've seen plenty of them. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it's like, but it's one of those. If I'm watching a torture porn film, I kind of have to steel myself. I have to mentally prepare for, okay, yeah, this movie is really just going to try and get under my skin and gross me out. And there's going to be scenes of torture, and then I can sit down and watch it. But it's not like I can watch a lot of horror movies in any given day. But watching, torture porn, I'm like one a week and I'm good.
I chalk this up as more as a thriller / horror. It's more thriller than it is horror.
Crime drama.
Again, like Seven, but with elements of the original Saw thrown in it. So that's, for me, that's where it lands. And this movie is not a recommend for me.
I wholeheartedly, like I said, if you're a fan of the series or whatever, if you want to see Chris Rock kind of stretch his legs a little bit, sure. But it's not like, oh, you got to run it out and see it. It's more like if you're sitting around on a Sunday and there ain't nothing else on, sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't think I'm in between. Yeah, I'm not going to dog it as much. It's not great, but yeah, like you said, if you're sitting on the couch, it's Sunday, you're not going to waste your time. Throw it on. It's not bad. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah. I've watched far worse in the
we
last
have.
several weeks. So
Yeah, we watched much worse. Yeah. Yes, we have. All right. Well, give me 1 second. Let me stir my chili, and we'll talk about Nocturne.
Okay. I'll be right back too.
Like yourself a
game.
a Pattinson Batman. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Does he talk?
That is I just you missed out on the would you like to play a game?
Are we gonna do like our top picks to give like at the end of this, like ones we do, like here's the best ones, here's our favorite horror movies of the last year, 2, 3, anything like that, or no?
Yeah, sure.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you said Tony, you said you watched a lot too. I want to see what you recommend. So
Fair enough. So which leads us to my pick, which is Nocturne. And this was oh look, it's on Amazon Prime. Oh look, it's Blumhouse. Oh hell yeah. Hit play. And that was literally, I knew nothing about this movie. I had not heard of this movie. I found it completely as a fluke, and I watched it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's my pick. There's meat here. Let's talk. So, Scott, what did you think of Nocturne?
I don't think it's a horror movie. I love the lead actress, Sydney Sweeney, and think she's. I can't go so far that I love the movie, but I do see outside of the horror genre why you would pick this, because this is a movie that could be discussed, especially the ending, the final scene.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how far into spoilers we get, but I do have my thoughts on what that was about.
On this one, I would say don't spoil the ending, because it is a big build. It is a money shot ending. So
it is, but are people going to have different opinions of what it meant? That's what I kind of like about it, because I can see that. I have different ones, and like my fiance who's seen it.
Tell you what, we'll discuss it between the three of us, but we'll leave it on the editing room floor.
Okay. But I do like it's a bit of a slow burn. I don't mind the atmosphere is there. I think they could have cut out some of it. I feel like they had like the story and they needed to fill out more. Like parts of it felt like, okay, we're extending here to get to the ending. But other than that, I mean, it's good. I mean, I think it's better than Spiral, and I like Spiral enough. So,
Yeah. So, same here. Just kind of getting the story a little bit. It's basically about these two fraternal twins that are both, pretty much, I mean, musical. I wouldn't say prodigies, but close enough. They're very talented, and they're in their advanced, stages. Are they technically still in high school?
They are actually
it's like
arts high school. It's an arts. It's specifically it's an arts high school. It's the kind of high school that you have to audition to get into. That you have to go through a very long, basically you have to show a
pretty exceptional.
Yeah. You have to show a real ability to even get in ninth grade. So you have to have already been groomed for this kind of a thing in middle school and your early years,
which they refer to in the movie too. I mean, he tells her your time has passed. You know what I mean? Like, which means, and you're in high school, your time's passed. You have to be early on. And it's true. There's a lot of truth in that movie as far as like coming from a music background. It's insane.
Yeah, and both of them, and just so you know, one of the reasons why I wound up watching this film is because, Tony plays cello, Jordan plays violin. They started in 5th grade and they played cello all through high school. So yeah, I'm really aware of the culture that's around those kind of students because I lived and raised 2 of them. And while Tony and Jordan were like, they enjoyed it, but it wasn't like an obsession and it wasn't like intended to be a career for them. We knew kids that were most definitely that driven and that performance oriented and were willing to just give up every other aspect of their life in high school to pursue that level of excellence. So
anyways, just to kind of get so we get a more context of what the hell it is we're talking about. So we got these kids that are in the high school, and one is accepting the Juilliard, and the other one is not. And the one that is not is the one that we're really kind of focusing our attention on in the story. But early in the movie, actually, it's the opening scene. You see this girl practicing the violin, and then the bell chimes 6, and she puts down a violin, walks out, and takes her own life. So later, the other girl who didn't get
wait,
Juilliard
it
finds,
wasn't just any girl. It wasn't just any girl that killed herself. She was supposed to be, it's a senior year concert, and she was supposed to be performing the final solo. And this was a very big deal. And this is kind of one of those, if you get this gig, if you actually are the senior performing the solo for the final concert of the year, you're pretty much guaranteed to get into whatever, musical school you want. And it's kind of that first step onto a successful musical career.
Right. Yeah. It's a springboard. So anyway, this girl, the girl ends up finding the girl that killed herself, her notebook, and finds this music. What's it called? The trill.
The Devil's Trill.
The Devil's Trill.
Yeah.
And she starts reading through it, and it slowly progresses from there. It gets a little darker. This girl evolves over time through the course of the movie, and then it culminates at the end with the concert, and that's all I'm gonna say plot wise with it. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I love the atmosphere in it. It's a slow burn, but there's a lot of other elements that they mix into it too. They get into the relationship with the sister's boyfriends, and not so much with the parents, but they do with the teachers, and they get into the teacher-student interactions as well. And those get a little dark and seedy in some cases, and in some cases, there's mistrust that's in there too. And I enjoyed all of that. I'm not going to call it a horror either. I'm going to call it a suspense thriller, or you can call it psychological horror. Is actually how it's billed. So there is that, but I'm not going to call it like a flat out horror. But it does belong in the conversation that we're having today.
I compared it to the Black Swan.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Scott. Can you say that again? You kind of muffled out there.
I was gonna say I told Mike I kind of compare it to like the Black Swan, but of music instead of ballet.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. See, for me, that the supernatural elements that were incorporated into it and are kind of intrinsic throughout the entire story, that's kind of what takes it from being just a simple character study thriller and turns it into a horror film. So while you're right, it's not a tried and true horror film, there are most definitely aspects of it that only fit in the horror genre. And that's it. All right, so spoilers. Your thoughts on the ending, Scott?
So this is how I saw the ending. I feel like they gave it away. Not gave it away because there's no twist. There's nothing to give away. But they shed light on it earlier. They're at the dinner, and the mom was talking about how basically classical music's not even that big anymore. It's sort of forgotten about. Yeah. Even later, when the teacher tells her your time has passed, you're too old now. I feel like it was very. I feel like a lot of the movie was metaphorical, actually, but specifically the ending. I think she goes for her solo. She realizes not only about my time has passed, but none of this matters. She just went through hell for nothing. She jumps off, and the students just don't notice her. They're walking around her impaled body, and I feel like that's metaphorical that they're just not seeing her. The classical doesn't matter. The classical composer doesn't matter. She's invisible, just like classical musicians are invisible to everyone right now too. To
take that metaphor even further, as the two sisters, she's the invisible one.
Yeah,
true. Yeah. So and you can go even farther with that, but specifically the ending, I feel like it's sort of what they were alluding to throughout the movie. Like classical's not important. She wasted it. She's past her time, and nobody cares. She was just nobody cared. They walked right by her. And I see it as a metaphor for classical composers.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. See, for me, this was one of those, throughout the whole movie, you're kind of trying to guess, is there a supernatural something happening here, or is she losing her mind? Because she's like popping Adderall like crazy through the whole film. And that's one of those things that like high performance, high achieving students, there's, all kinds of articles and stuff you can find out that there's a real Adderall problem because Adderall helps people with normal brain chemistry with extreme focus.
Yeah, and the director makes it a point to show those pills several times.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Very specific.
And so, you're kind of like, is it supernatural? Is she just interpreting stuff this way? Or is she mentally ill, or is there actually like a supernatural thing going on here that has to do with that notebook and, the notes that the girl that had it prior to are in it? And that's kind of why I really dug this movie, was because at the end, you're right, there isn't a definitive answer. There is no, well, was there a supernatural force that acted upon her, or is she just mentally ill? And I think that ending where she has that flash and then you see what actually happens to her, and her body lands on the sculpture, which, what the funny thing about it is, did you see the movie poster for this? Because that's a spoiler right there on the movie poster.
I didn't even look at the movie poster.
When you look at the movie poster, you will see that it's like, this is the ending of the movie. This is what we're going towards. But you had said something earlier that you felt that they were kind of padding it out, and I'm just curious, what parts did you feel were padded out?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Padded out as far as like them leading to that final scene?
Yeah.
So I guess what I mean is, and this is sort of rhetorical, but at the same time I want to hear your answer, is, was it supernatural? Was it not? Was it in her head? Right? To me, they built it up that it doesn't matter. And that was the point by the end. It doesn't matter if it was or wasn't. It was all for nothing. All of that was for nothing. All of her relationships being broken and practice. Was it supernatural? No one cares. It was for nothing. Yeah. So I don't think there is an answer. You could debate, I totally think it was supernatural. It wasn't. Doesn't matter. And I think that was kind of the point to a lot of the movie.
Partly, I was gonna say, my answer to you is this: the teacher, the teacher that she like really fought like hell to get into his tutelage, and then he was the one tutor. He actually, I think, summed up the whole point of the movie really, really well, which is, you know what? You see these great composers, you see these great virtuosos, you know what they didn't do? They didn't go to a school like this. And do you know why? Because they were so gifted, they got to skip this step. And they got to just go right from picking up the instrument the first time to being an expert at it without 9 hours a day of practice and without it being a course in their normal curriculum or education. They just got it. And that's something that none of the students at this school ever had. So I think it's interesting to me because they kind of shone a light on, if your kid's that gifted, you do get to skip all this bullshit. And it's more meant to milk the dreams and hopes and aspirations of the people that fall just outside of that talent window. Yes, they have ability. Yes, they're capable players. But even with everything that they're giving it, surrendering their entire life to a genre of music that
what's that static?
Kind of forgotten.
What's that static? There we go.
All of a sudden, the sound just went out. So I had to go back in.
Yeah, all of a sudden it got really staticky.
Seconds of what you said, but but in addition to what I did heard, the toll it took on the student and their families. You kind of see a little bit of what the toll took on the parents, even. And
so going from the metaphorical aspect of it, if you took like all the supernatural stuff aside, it's just this girl had just a nervous breakdown from all the pressures and anxieties and all stuff going along with this. And so her reading that notebook of the girl, she's probably just reading the exact same thoughts that girl had, so like in reality, instead of seeing, the devil's trill, she's seeing like her fucking notes of like, fucking this shit's fucking driving me crazy, la 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 la, I'm fucking stressed out, blah 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 blah. And then so all those things are being imprinted on her, and then she's going through these same things, if you look at it from like that kind of perspective.
You know what I do like too, another detail to actually go into the supernatural part is the detail of that she did learn. She changed her solo to the Devil's Trill. Am I right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Specifically, they could have picked out any classical piece for her in the movie. And they specifically used the one with the word devil in it, just to kind of put it in your head. Maybe there's something super, because the legend is that the devil was like the angel of music and things like. So there's those little things that were pretty cool little details they specifically used to add on to that. Is it not? I like that part of it. That was cool.
So I see, and for me, this was kind of like, have either of you guys watched Saint Maud?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, so if you've seen it, you understand the exact parallels to this. There's the reality of what's going on, and then there's what's going on in her head. And there was a lot of parallels between these two films. So if you like Saint Maud, if you've seen Saint Maud, this is definitely a recommend for that. But here's the other thing that I thought was kind of fascinating about it, was that in this movie, the biggest fear that the main character had was the fear of failure. And that's like something that you don't see explored too often in the horror genre. So that was another one of the things that
I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think it's failure. I don't think the fear is failure. I think the fear is, well, it's not even that. I think it's just straight up jealousy is what it is. And if it's fear, it's the fear of, like, you know, like I said, not being noticed, being left behind.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In the same sense. Yeah, no, I totally get it.
It's never failure. She's always trying to live up to her sister. She's always trying to catch her. So it's never an issue of failure. It's an issue of not performing to the level that she thinks she should be at.
Yeah, and I'll disagree with both of you. I actually think you're both right. I think it's both. I don't think one's mutually exclusive of the other. I think one goes hand in hand. The feeling goes in hand with the jealousy. I think you're both correct. Yeah, and both good points.
So, you know, the other thing I thought that this film did really well was sibling rivalry. It was subtle, and it was passive aggressive, and it was not ever over the top, and it was always waiting for that moment to take advantage. It was done really well and really convincingly. And the other thing was, you brought up the dinner with the parents, where they were talking about, like, you know, what's the point of all this? You know, does anyone really listen to classical music anymore? And that I thought was kind of fascinating, that for the parents, like, bragging about, oh, our daughter got into Juilliard. At the end of the day, what's really finally revealed is that the parents really give a shit more about the bragging rights of getting into Juilliard than what it took to get there, and the ability that their daughters have. So,
which plays along to the none of it matters once you get there.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the subtlety. I mean, for one, anybody with a sibling can relate to sibling rivalry, but they do it subtly. And I'll give you a quick example to your point, is when she's in her dressing room, and the sister with the broken arm comes in, and she's just like, where did I go wrong? Where did this turn? Like, what did I do, and where did it go wrong? It was just a simple, it wasn't a drag out fight. It was an honest kind of it was really well done.
Yeah.
So recommend? Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Not a horror movie though. You're not going to be scared by this.
No, you're absolutely not going to be scared by it. No.
So let's get into the slew of shit that we watched.
Oh,
other than these three films. So
hold on. May I ask a question, Tony?
Sure.
Did they say what they didn't like about Lucky? I have a guess as what it is, but
they said that it was very heavy-handed, and that it was a movie with a message, but at the end of it all, they just kind of beat you over the head with it. It lacked nuance. It lacked subtlety. And because of its lack of nuance or subtlety, it really just kind of made the movie more cringe than...
See, I liked it about it. I knew they were going to say that. People, number one, some people don't like messages in movies. Some people don't like being slapped over the face with the message. I liked that they did it this way because, and you haven't finished seeing the movie, so this may not even make sense, but in general, they slapped you in the face, but it's not heavy. It wasn't so serious. They had fun with it. Yeah, we have a message here, but this is still a popcorn movie. This is a fun movie. So it's not like this heavy, depressing, here's the message, and I feel bad because of this message. No, it's fun. They you know, it's so they give you the message and they give you a popcorn movie. I like that they did that. Right in your face, too.
Yeah, so I will go back and finish it. It's just, I started it late and I dozed off, and I guess it was probably like 11:30 or so. And it was right during the scene where she had returned back to her home and her husband was there. It was after the night of the first break-in, and he was just he's the stranger. He's in the house. Yeah, it's, you know.
Like, it's a great movie. It's fun. I mean, it's like an hour and 10 minutes or something.
Yeah. I was digging the tone of it, but like I said, I just picked the wrong time. And then when I was going to go back and watch it, they're like, "Don't bother." I was like,
Yeah.
"Wait, I have to because we're supposed to talk about it." But they're like,
Bother, please
so,
bother. I want to hear what you say about this.
Yeah, and just so you know, there are movies that I love that I'm like, while I take their opinions, I take them with what, there are movies that I love that I know they hate, so I will finish the film eventually, but
maybe we can do a quick and dirty on it because I specifically want to hear how was the message handled. That's what I want to know from you. Honestly, I want to know how do you feel it was handled?
Okay,
Because
well,
it's going to be divisive due to what your family's disliked is the same that I liked about it. So
okay, well, I'm okay with that. Mike, are you okay with that? Did you watch Lucky yet?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
All right, well then
It's
we'll
good.
watch it and we'll do a quick and dirty with the three of us, and we will either talk it up or talk shit about it.
Yeah. I will say I watched a lot, and my 3 or 4 favorite horror movies I've seen over the last month have all been, 3 of them were from Indonesia, and the 4th one was from Thailand. And so there's still, it just goes to show there is still great stuff coming out of Asia. I mean, really nightmarish. I mean, I saw a movie yesterday that actually creeped me out, and it takes a lot to do that to me. Now,
I was going to ask, Scott, have you seen Baskin?
Oh yeah.
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 Okay. So you're up to speed on where horror is.
Movie.
Yeah. And Baskin is one of those films that, again, found it completely on accident. And that movie made my skin crawl. That movie creeped me the fuck out. And I have yet to see a big budget studio film that's been produced here in the States that has been anywhere near as effective or creepy or scary as that in years. So
I mean, I would dare say even my top 5 or 6, even more horror movies none of them are U.S. made. They're all. I think part of it's a different culture. They have different beliefs, so part of that's interesting.
Yeah.
Specifically Japan. I mean, but like Baskin, I believe was Bosnian, if I remember correctly. Right?
I think it was. I don't remember if it was Indian or Malaysian, but
I don't think it was either one of those. But we'll say maybe it's one of the Indonesian ones though. I can't remember any Indonesian. I can't say the word movies before the last few years, horror movies. But I saw Queen of Black Magic, which is really good. This one yesterday, May the Devil Take You. Have you seen this?
I have not.
No. Watch that. It is a fantastic creep. It's relentless. Once it starts, it does not let up. My fiance watched one scene and left the room. She's like, I am not going to be able to handle this. It's one of those movies. Now,
well, give a quick plot.
You had my interest, but now you have my curiosity.
Oh, it's so good. So again, it's going to be subtitled, which do not get me started on a rant. I hate when people, I don't want to read the movie while they're scrolling on their Facebook on their phone. You read all the time. Shut up. Read the movie. You're missing out, all right? Quick plot. May the Devil Take You is about a girl who's her estranged father comes out with a crazy illness, coma-like, just sores on his head. So she goes back home to visit the dad. He's got a new family, a stepmom, and they got kids. And basically the movie is going to the house. They want to find some anything that's left that is of worth, and ends up finding secrets that the father was going to get to this sickness. Somewhat spoiler, he made a deal with a certain entity to get to where he was successfully, and now that deal must be repaid. Is essentially what the movie is, and I mean it is relentless. It is hardcore. I love it. That's without giving too much away. That's the basic premise.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, keep it short, man, because I want to watch these. If you're recommending them, I want to check them out. But I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this is the part that they were talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'll leave it at that. Queen of Black Magic, I would say, is a close second. Also Indonesian. That one's basically some people that they grew up, they're orphans. They go back home to their orphanage. That's like going sort of falling on hard times. And obviously that orphanage had some secrets from when they were kids that rear its ugly head, so forth, so on. Supernatural, I will say, leave it at that. That one, again, highly recommended. And then I watched the third one I will mention. I was on Shudder that just came out called The Medium. It's from Thailand or Korea. I can't remember which one, but I feel like it's both. That movie, it's did you see The Wailing Really popular.
It is on my to watch list. Apparently, there's a sequel to The Wailing, or a spiritual sequel to it, and I wanted to watch them back to back. But it is. I am aware of it. I really want to watch it. Karen and Tony have both watched it. They both raved about it. It's just I haven't gotten to it yet. So yeah. Don't spoil that one. I want to go in blind. So.
All I was gonna say is it's similar in feel. The first hour is a slow burn. Convince yourself you're not watching a horror movie because it's going to take a bit to get to. Not that it's bad or it's boring, but when it gets to it, the last half hour is bonkers. But it's called The Medium. It's not found footage. It's a documentary, which people will usually roll your eyes. This one is done well. The Asians know what they're doing. That probably sounds. You might want to cut that line out. But it's a documentary. Back in 2017, a documentary crew. Blah 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 blah. Right. But it looks like you're watching a documentary. You can convince yourself this isn't Hollywood fooling me right now.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we watched Lake Mungo just a couple weeks back, and that is a documentary as well. And Mike and I both loved that. So if it's a documentary, that's not a turnoff for me.
No.
There are very few genres that I'm not willing to watch. So and it's more just a matter of personal preference. So yeah, that I don't mind.
You'll like it. And it's genuinely scary. And the reason I started it, I saw it I'm on a bunch of horror groups online. And there were some people on there who are also pretty desensitized. And they're like, nothing scares us. And this movie creeped us out. And it does. It is scary. It takes a bit to get to, but man, the payoff is there. It's basically about a shaman. So it uses a lot of Far Eastern culture and that kind of a thing, which I love that kind of stuff. But it's basically a documentary on the shaman, how she got there, how it came up through her family. And then she gets to use it, and holy cow, yeah, do it.
So that's next. 2 recommendations. What and anything? That's 3. Okay, so give me 3 movies that you just aren't worth the click, that are complete shit that you can't stand.
Oh gosh, like recently or anything
you've watched in the last year. Just.
Well, let's keep it horror. This is a horror thing, so keep it horror.
Yeah. That's mostly what I watch. I would say. Microwave Massacre from 1980 is pretty horrible. There was one I just watched yesterday, Madman / movie from 81. Not good. You go into these knowing they're not going to be good. Some are good because they're not good. This is just not good.
Yeah.
So I might have to come back to you on the third one. I've seen so many. I feel like there was one. Come back to me on that one. Let's hear yours.
So mine, 3 movies that I would recommend. Some of them are kind of recent, some of them are recent-ish, but the 3 movies that I have watched so far this year that really have stuck with me. I watched The Excision, which is about the social teen outcast girl who has a sister that has fibromyalgia or
You've seen this guy. You actually recommended this movie to me.
I couldn't hear what it was. What was it called?
Excision.
The Excision.
Oh, Excision.
Yes.
Great movie.
Yeah, it is a slow burn. I'm not going to go into the plot. I'm just going to say that it is a film that is all about. It's a character study, and why she's not a massive star, I don't know, because I've never seen an actress carry a movie that. Like that in a very long time, and she does. She does all the heavy lifting for it. But the ending of that movie, it fucked with me for a couple days afterwards. It was brutal. And the other thing was the unexpected cameos. Tracy Lords as the mom, and she played it to perfection. It was never over the top or campy or anything. So that, and then Malcolm McDowell as her teacher. Was great in that as well. There's not a wasted role in the film. It is got this own unique visual style to it. And a lot of the shots are shot where they just lock the camera down and it's like the camera doesn't move at all. So I love the visual aspect of it, but it is a film that is most definitely well written, well crafted, and the gut punch at the end. I saw it coming and was still like, holy fuck. So that is number 1 on my back.
Hang on.
It's very similar to May. Have you seen May?
Wait, Scott, where'd you go?
I'm here.
Hold on, Scott.
Hold on. I'm coming. I'm looking at oh, okay. I'm trying to think of other movies I've seen recently.
I think
I
you
write them all
accidentally
down.
turned your. Oh, okay. I was gonna say. I think you accidentally turned your camera off. There you go.
No. It was on purpose.
May
Yeah,
is the
it's
name
very
of it.
similar to May. Very, very almost a similar plot line. Awkward girl, that kind of a thing. I just watched one called The Toll, and the Columnist I would recommend too.
Mm-hmm.
Again, foreign movie. The Toll's pretty good. I'm trying to think about The Hunger, David Bowie. I turned that off. You want a third one I didn't like? That was one.
I don't blame you. I say, like you had mentioned this, the Koreans are fucking killing it here lately.
Oh gosh, yes, so good.
I mean,
because I was super big into Asian horror for a long time, and Dina will tell you this.
Yes.
And then you just didn't hear a lot coming out that was very good over there for like the first part of like the 2010s or so. And then the Wailing.
Yeah, it's a good stretch of a whole lot nothing.
Yeah, and then like I said, the Wailing, Train to Busan, some of those started coming out, and now Indonesia and Thailand and all these places are just, and they don't have a lot of like the what's the word I'm looking for?
Tropes.
Yeah, they will do more on the screen that you will see U.S. filmmakers get away with on the screen.
Yeah, and so Excision is my first one. My second one is Concurrence, and it's a really simple setup, and the setup is a bunch of friends get together for a dinner party on a night when a comet is crossing overhead, and then they realize like all the power goes out, and then the light comes back on in their house, and then they realize that there's another house 2 blocks down and the power is on there. So when they go down to find out, they realize that it's them.
Yep, I did see that.
Yeah,
it's on Hulu right now.
It's a really, really. I'm not going to say that one's necessarily a horror film, but I don't know what other genre it would necessarily fall into. But it's
sci-fi, maybe.
It's sci-fi, but there's a lot of suspense. There is a lot of there's a lot of creepy shit going on in the movie.
Yeah, it sounds
and I really
describe it like it could be one of those that could be kind of cheesy sounding but when you watch it, it's taken very serious. It's got a serious tone. It's good.
Yeah. It's played completely straight. And I really saw that, and it just was an out of nowhere like, wow, that was great. And I'm going to recommend it because I think it is most definitely a Halloweenable movie. But there's no jump scares, there's no blood and guts, there's nothing like that. It's just a really engaging, really engrossing, really screw with your head kind of concept that they try to follow through to its logical conclusion. So I really enjoyed that one. And then I had a third movie, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember the title of it. So I'm just going to say, here's some movies to completely fucking skip. So, Killer Sofa.
I'm out of here.
Killer Sofa is an absurd premise that there is a lazy boy that is purchased by this girl, and it is possessed, and it is hunting her down, and it sounds on the surface like it should be just batshit crazy and fun, and it plays it straight, but it's one of those rare movies that if it was worse, it would be better, because it has all the makings of it should have been a blast. It should have been a ton of fun. And it's just not. It lacks it's not absurd enough for its completely absurd premise. So skip Killer Sofa. That's his number one on the list. Redcon 1. It is a zombie outbreak happens, and they have a team of special forces that they're going to send in to rescue the doctor that may potentially have the cure. And this is like dollar store Army of the Dead. It lacks Zack Snyder's nuance and subtlety. um, uh,
Which is funny because he has none of that.
it came out here relatively recently, and it's one of
Zack
those
Snyder
movies
is neither
that
subtle nor anything of the sort.
I'm watching this movie and I'm like going, okay, it's gonna be over here soon. And I hit like, how much time do we have left? I'm like, there's 58 fucking minutes left in this film. And they used all 58 of them, man. They drug that shit out for as long as they could. And I'm just going to say that I'm going to put this theory out there. I think this is what happens when you get a bunch of stunt people together, like industry professional stunt people, and they're like, yeah, man, we can make a fucking movie. Because every action sequence is completely over the top. And it's not over the top cool. It goes past the cool zone into the roll your eyes, what the fuck zone. Like when a special forces team is doing parkour on top of cars and shooting zombies, you know you have landed in what the fuckville. So that is one you can definitely.
To me, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It should be fun, but it's a slog. It really is. And if they had trimmed 30 minutes out of it, it would have been more fun. But again, because they're trying to like make a serious movie, it's so trope filled, and then it's just so blah. There's no real stand-up performances. There's no real absurd or funny moments. It's a completely vanilla version of that. Trust me, I'm making it sound much more entertaining than it is. So I need you to understand that from the word go. See, and the third movie I wanted to recommend, it's got Tilda Swinton and damn it, I can't remember. They're vampires and they've been alive for a very, very long time. And they have constructed this whole life. And it is basically all about their lives and how they're trying to say it. And it's got love in the title. It's like Those That Love Forever. And I can't remember. Hang on a sec. Hang on.
Oh, is it My Heart? I think I know what you're talking about.
I gotta look up the title.
I need to add on to your killer sofa too later.
Oh. It's Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston. Only Lovers Left Alive is the name of the film. And it is Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston, and I love both of them. They're both really phenomenal actors. And this is such an off the beaten path movie for them. And I was really intrigued by where they went with it. That they didn't just like they were not trying to do a remake of Interview with a Vampire or anything that you've seen before. The way that they approached vampires and vampirism and the way that they live is very different than anything I've ever seen. The only other film I can think of that really does a character study with vampires this well is Near Dark. So, because with Near Dark, you get a backstory for everybody and where were they, what were they born into and what are they used to and how the world has changed since they became vampires. And this kind of did that, but it did it on a much more relatable and not violent level. And the other thing I thought was interesting was that they're trying to not kill because killing people brings attention on them. And apparently there is a disease that the vampires can catch from certain humans. So they're trying to make sure that they're only eating clean blood. So it's a high recommend for me. I don't know that I would call it a horror film, but again, I don't know what else to call it because it is a movie about vampires. There is blood in it, there is gore, and it's unlike any other vampire film I've ever really seen. So yeah, that's my third recommend. So I gave you Redcon one, I gave you the Killer Sofa, and then the third bad movie, the third one to completely avoid is Edge of the Axe, which apparently it's a 1980s horror film, but they just did a 4K restoration of it and they released it. And again, it is it's a typical kind of slasher film. It's most definitely like they were trying to cash in on the slasher craze. The trailer is far more entertaining than the movie itself. The movie is a lot of padded out scenes or shit that's just stuck in there for no reason at all. It doesn't really go anywhere. And then the twist at the end is really just dumb. If you're an 80s horror film fanatic, sure, maybe, but other than that, skip it. It's really not as entertaining as it wants to believe it is. So there you go. There's my 3 and 3. And Mike, you have to edit the order around a bit on that.
You know what I like about your vampire one? One of the questions I was going to sort of put you on the spot, and I tell Dino all the time, is I'm not a big vampire zombie guy. They're just so played out to me. I just can't get into them. I was going to ask Tony, give me a vampire movie that you would recommend.
Oh, well.
So you answered a question already that I had for you today. So thank you.
No, and you're right. I mean, honestly, the vampire, the monster movie just feels played out at this point. Unless you're going to do something really different or really interesting, if you think that just by virtue of having a vampire or a zombie in your movie is enough to carry it, you're really wrong, because we've seen it already. So it's interesting for me when somebody takes these classic movie monsters and does something different with them, and I think that movie definitely succeeds in that regard. And again, Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston, man, they play it to the bone. It's really a fascinating movie. And again, the less you know going into it, the more I think you'll dig it. But don't go in thinking, oh, Lestat's gonna show up, because he ain't.
Good.
So Mike, 3 up, 3 down. Give it to us, baby.
Okay. So my first one isn't a movie. It's actually a miniseries that's out right now. It's on Netflix, Midnight Mass. Scott didn't like it. He only got, what, a couple episodes in?
Got over halfway.
Okay. I dug it. It's slow. Like the first 4 episodes, there's like a minute or 2 of actual supernatural action in it. But as it goes a little more, it's in there. It really, all the good supernatural stuff really happens in the last 2 episodes. But where I really liked it was how they tie in the supernatural in with the religious, because basically, so this is island up in the Northeast. It's a very small, tight-knit community. You know, half the people go to church, and the people that do go are very devout and all this stuff. And so this preacher leaves to go to Jerusalem, and one comes back, a priest, and it's like, hey, I'm Paul Monsignor, whatever his name is, is fallen ill. He's on the mainland. He'll be back at some point. And then so miracles start happening on this island and all this shit. And then you come to find out, well, there's some nefarious shit going on behind these miracles. And it's quite interesting to see how these miracles are actually happening, how they tie into the supernatural. It's Mike Flanagan, who did Hush, who did I think also this Haunted House series that came out recently. They're not as padded out as those are the episodes. Well, I don't know. Some people may disagree with me with that statement. But
streaming services love him.
Yeah. but I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's packed to the brim with, Catholicism and all that stuff. So if that's not your bag, or if you like people to kind of make digs at Catholicism, it may be your bag. I say check that out. Another one is one that Scott recommended, old 80s classic, which I haven't seen in years and years. It's so long, as a matter of fact, I forgot everything about this movie. Demons. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's so 80s cheese. It has everything you want from a crappy 80s movie. It's all there. It's all there. Even the great soundtrack. And what's the name of that track that you had posted recently?
Oh, Icon.
Yeah,
Danger
Icon.
Calling? Motley Crue's in it. There's a bunch of it. I mean, the scene with the motorcycle and the chick in the back alone is worth the movie. Going to a movie theater to slash and fantastic.
Yes, and the end is fucking just awesome. I love the end of that.
Yeah.
It's great. So good, so good. And then my last one is an older, well, it's not an older movie, but it's a couple years old, probably about 4 years old now. I watched it again last night because I don't know, I need to cleanse my palate because I watched Halloween Kills. Deathgasm.
Oh, Deathgasm's great.
Yeah, Deathgasm's fucking awesome. New Zealand horror comedy about this outcast black metal guy and his black metal buddies, and they form a black metal band with music from Satan or some other demon. I forgot what the demon's name is. There's everything you could possibly want. There's great music, there's tits, there's humor, there's great gore. One of my favorite parts in it is when you first meet the big bad, and his henchmen have failed on his task, and so for his failure he gets beheaded, and the big bad's like, wait, what are you doing? That's a handmade Persian something rug or some shit like that. Do it again. Lay a tarp down, do it again. It's like, he wants to do something. Grab a tarp, lay it down. They pull up the body, put the head back on. And the guy comes up with his sword again and taps the guy's head. And it falls down. They're like, is that good enough? It's like, yeah, it's fine.
My favorite is the death by dildo. I mean, that's death by dildo scene is right there.
That's a good one too. Yeah, get assaulted with anal beads, and I mean it's great. It's a lot of fun. So the ones I'm gonna say stay away from, and even these movies they're not like awful. They're just kind of like whatever. And it's funny, two of them involve pizza delivery girls. So we have Super Hot, which is about a pizza delivery girl. She's like a super nerd. And there's a great scene in there, Tony, that you'll appreciate, where she goes into this toy store and she wants to buy a Gundam figurine, and it's like, well, I want the $30 one. It's like, and the shopkeeper's like, why you want the $30 one? No, you don't. You want the $300 one. And it's to go to this thing. I'm gonna butcher the scene, but basically it's like, well, when you go to buy a movie, do you buy a DVD, buy a Blu-ray? Well, I go buy a Blu-ray. Well, why you buy the Blu-ray? Because it's better, So this is da 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 da. Yeah. So which of these are you going to buy? You're going to buy a $30 toy. You're going to buy the $500 or the $300 toy. No, the $300 toy. So she buys the $300 toy. But at any rate, so oh god, what the fuck's the movie even about? Oh yeah, so there's a cult in there that need to sacrifice a virgin. And I can't remember if the girl ends up turning out to be a virgin or not. I don't remember, but it's mildly entertaining, but it's something you can easily skip. The next one is Satanic Panic. So again, you got this pizza delivery driver. She goes into the the very well-to-do end part of the town, and everybody's like, well, I won't deliver down there because number one, it's outside our area, and two, these people never tip. And sure enough, she goes there, and they don't tip. She's like out of gas, and so she's like pounding on the student's door. It's like, hey, I'm out of gas. I gave you like $100 worth of pizza. You didn't give me shit back. Give me something. And he's not answering. So the door's open. So she walks in, and she walks into the middle of this meeting of a satanic cult. And this is a comedy. It's got Rebecca Romaine in it. It's got the blonde girl from Bubble Boy, which is funny, she's also in a cult in that movie too. But it's mildly entertaining. There's some funny parts in it. There's a full-on orgy scene at the end. So there's that. And it's it's one of those things like if you're like just stoned or whatever, it's the middle of the night or Sunday and you got absolutely nothing else to watch, you can put it in. I don't recommend this either. It's just kind of there. Then this brings me to Halloween Kills. Have you guys watched the first new movie that came out, the 2018 Halloween movie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You watched it?
Honestly, it's like the whole. Oh, we're rebooting it. We're just the first movie counts, and we skip that one. It's like every time that they try to do that, it sucks balls. And they've tried to do it with the Terminator, and they were talking about doing it with Alien, and they tried to do it with Predator, and it's like just you fuckers made this continuity. You fucking deal with it, all right? Don't tell me to forget it. You already got my money, and fuck me. So yeah, no, I opted out on the new Halloween movies. For that reason, I can't stand it when this is the true sequel. Oh wait, so Halloween 2 that came out a year after Halloween, that's not the real sequel, but you're gonna reference the shit out of it in your new movie? Fuck you. So,
Yeah, and that's kind of what they do to a degree. So in this one, it starts off. They actually go back to. I'm not going. You're not missing anything, dude. I mean, you can cover your ears if you want, but at any rate,
I don't care.
So,
you know what? You can tell me like everything about this movie, and even if you're like, and I really recommend it, I'm gonna be like,
no,
that's nice, Mike.
no, there's no recommend here. There's no recommend. It's not gonna happen.
The
That's why
family's
it's
watching it later is why I did that.
so at any rate, so it actually starts off after the first movie ends, which was kind of interesting. I'm talking about the 1978 Halloween.
Mhm.
So it's like their interpretation of what happened like immediately after Michael Myers gets shot and falls off the balcony. I was like, oh well, this is kind of interesting. And they had some kind of cool scenes going there. They had a good vibe, and it looked like they were going to try to capture that spirit of the first movie, Scott. But oh my god, they fall short. And they fall short fucking quick. There's just some stupidity in this fucking movie, and that's really my biggest gripe about this movie is everybody in this movie is fucking dumb. Everybody in this movie is dumb. I can't stress enough. Everybody in this movie is fucking dumb.
It's a slasher movie.
No. Absurdly fucking dumb. And you'll understand when you watch it. And I get it's supposed to be a slasher movie, but here's the thing: when these dildos like say they're going to do this continuity, they're like, it's like, oh, we're going to, stay true to the spirit and this, that, blah, blah, blah. The same bullshit that every motherfucker says when they try to, add on to a property or do a remake of a property. Oh, we're fans of it, blah, 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 blah. No, you ain't. You're not fucking fans of fucking shit. You're in it for some quick fucking money because, people watch you got a built-in fucking audience, and it shows here. So at any rate, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, just people are just fucking dumb. But anyways, they're trying to get the spirit, but with the first movies, it's more. There's more suspense in it, and there's some kills and there's violence, but it's very subdued. In the second one, there's more actual violence in it, but even then, the blood in the second one, the gore, is very tame. There's not a lot going on. The kills in this movie are super excessive. Like in the first movie, like it takes like one blow or you strangle a dude for like 2-3 seconds and they're fucking dead. No, they drag these fucking kills out just to an absurd fucking level. Everybody makes the stupidest fucking decision you possibly can in this movie, and it makes no fucking sense. Jamie Lee Curtis has not even been in this fucking movie. She's hardly in it at all. And I know at some point, it gets to the point where you root for the killer to do all the kills. I don't know. I didn't want to do that, but I hate these people so much I couldn't wait for them to fucking die. Which I didn't have in the first in the 2018 Halloween. I didn't have that in that movie, but I absolutely did in this one. It's like you can't kill these motherfuckers fast enough because it's so fucking stupid.
So it's not a recommend then?
It is not. It is not.
See, here's
I don't know. I didn't give you any spoilers, so
yeah, I mean,
you can
honestly,
watch
this
it,
is
Scott, and we can talk about it later.
Yeah,
And
we're watching it tonight, me and
Yeah.
the kids and Pam. So
yeah.
for me, it's one of those big studio horror is a giant red flag because it's always so safe and so sanitized
Well, this isn't safe or
and
sanitized.
so
No, this is quite the
oh no
opposite.
wait by sanitized I mean like they have their their test audiences and whatever the notes they get from the test audience, no matter how bad they are, no matter how much it conflicts with the vision of the guy who's making the film, they always go with that. So you always wind up with this homogenous, sloppy crap.
No, I'm not gonna say there's. I don't think there's any studio interference in this thing. I think this is exactly what the people that want to make this movie made.
Just bad.
It's like the James Wan movie that we fucking watched. This was their vision, and no, it doesn't work.
See, but the problem with James Wan is that he's so busy catering to his fucking giving his audience what they want that if you're not already a James Wan fan, James Wan movies are like watching 2 hours of garbage. And we've watched 2 of them this year. And you tell me I'm wrong about that one. James Wan makes movies specifically for James Wan's fans, and that's fine. That's his niche. But it also is the point where like I've seen enough of his movies to know that I fucking really hate his movies. So I really don't want to see any of them. And if I see James Wan on it, I'm going to be like, yep, I'm out. I'm good. It's like M. Night Shyamalan. You know, he started off super strong and then he fell into that like, oh, it's an M. Night Shyamalan film. You're like, yeah, I'm good. If it shows up on cable and it's Sunday, I might turn it on, maybe.
Yeah.
If I'm
his show though on Apple TV is great right now. Though we're watching that. Have you seen Servant?
No.
His series, oh, it's good. We're addicted to that. Yeah.
I'm not hating on M. Night Shyamalan, but you understand what I'm saying. There are certain directors that it's like, it's kind of like watching the end of John Carpenter's career, where it started off and he did Halloween and he did the thing, and it was like John Carpenter's this, John Carpenter's that. And just the fact that it was John Carpenter was enough to put asses in seats. And so they went with it. John Carpenter's Christine, John Carpenter's Prince. But then towards the end, when it was like John Carpenter's Village of the Damned and John Carpenter's Vampires and John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars, it just kind of became like a warning. Don't go see this. Yeah. You remember when he was good? Well, he's not anymore. So if you know who John Carpenter is, you can just avoid this one. Yeah.
I didn't mind Village of the Damned. It's not a good movie. It's not a great movie, but it's definitely not Ghost of Mars.
Yeah, Village of the Damned was the beginning of the slip.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of got worse and worse from there because Vampires is fucking hot garbage, and it has not aged very well. And Ghost of Mars, same thing. It's one of those. It was trying so hard to be cool that it's dated itself, and now when you watch it in 2021, you're like, this is fucking lame. That's a lot of John Carpenter's later films there. That's kind of how they stack up. So I know that if it's not 1975 to 1989 and it has John Carpenter in the title, don't watch it. So, and I feel like James Wan is going to wind up on the exact same road, that he's going to be so pigeonholed into these crappy, over-the-top, bizarre bullshit horror films that at some point it's going to be a failure, and then it's just going to, continue to fail. But we have to brand it as a, James Wan film because his loyal audience. You know what I'm getting at, I hope. Yeah. So yeah, it's like if anything is put out by a big studio, I just tend to want to skip it because most of the time it's bad. But alternatively, if it's A24 or Blumhouse or it's foreign or just some indie little flick, I'm more than happy to watch those for a lot of reasons, because the really original ideas and the really different takes on the horror genre, that's where they're coming from. It's not coming out of the studio. They want a safe bet. They want a return on investment. Mm-hmm. The guys that are out there with, 20 of their buddies and some cameras and a talented cast, but you've never fucking heard of them before, those are the people that are like, I have a vision and I want to make this movie and I want to make it like this and I want to do something different with this genre. I'm all ears on that. I will watch it, just put it where I can find it, and I'm happy to give it a view. So
Shudder's been doing that too. The Shudder app. I've heard so many bad things, but since I got it, a lot of those originals the last few months is kind of what you're saying. I mean, kind of looks a little better as far as like being too indie. But I mean, they're doing some good stuff. The Indonesian ones were through there, but like that movie Host, I thought Host is really well done. Like that's, I mean, there's some good stuff coming out of there.
The old school Korean, The Host?
No, the one from last year where it's all on Zoom. It's a Zoom call.
Okay.
Yeah, really well done. Which I mean, not the most original idea, but at the same time, it's like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Like, what a great idea! It's during COVID, they're all on Zoom calls. It's your friend, and that one's like you're watching a Zoom call. There's no inkling of their acting. You know, like it's really well done. And there's a lot of cool stuff coming out on Shudder like that recently.
Yeah, and I'm completely down for that. So you've got the Shudder app.
Yes.
Recommend?
Yes. If you're a horror fan, yes. Oh, I loved it. I know it wasn't as good a year ago, and that's why I didn't get it till now. But now there's so much content and so much original stuff. That's where I saw those Indonesian ones. Like I said, Host, there's stuff I've never heard of. I watched Nosferatu, the 1922 silent film.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Like, that's hard to find. Like, I mean, maybe YouTube. I don't know. But yeah, there's a ton of cool, good shows, slashers on there. We like that. Me and Pam watched that. Some good documentary kind of stuff. I was telling Dino, there's one called Cursed, series about like ones on The Exorcist or movies that were cursed, right? So Poltergeist, things like that. Well, it's like $5 a month. I mean, yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't realize it was that inexpensive. I mean, because for me, it's like we signed up for HBO Max, and now it seems like everything I watch is on HBO Max because they have such a deep library of stuff, and they cycle stuff in and out so regularly. I rarely find myself watching Netflix. But I do find myself going to Prime a lot because Prime has such a deep catalog. And, you know, and granted, their catalog, it goes from the highest highs to the lowest lows, but you're never going to not be able to find something to watch on Amazon.
I tell you what, if you're a horror fan, the app to get is Tubi. They've got a ton of stuff on there. It's ridiculous how many horror things they got on that.
So, Tubi's got commercials, though, right?
Yeah, it's free.
It does.
Okay. So I may just have to give that a shot, but I just have an aversion to commercials. So
FYI to you, Tony, I have AMC Plus, which has Shudder on it on my Amazon.
Oh shit!
Which you guys are watching anyway, so.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, any other thoughts on any of this stuff? I want to get Scott's thoughts on where do you think the future of horror is coming from?
What we just mentioned, your A24 is already there.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, A24 is going to be the future. I'm like, no, they're like the right now. Like they had Midsommar, Hereditary. Like to me, they're king right now. If you're a big time horror fan, if you're a couch horror fan, and then it doesn't mean anything to you. But yeah, I will stress again, look overseas, look outside of the country. There's so much good stuff out there that no one is aware of.
Yeah. I think one of the better stuff that we watched recently was again one of your recommendations, The Call. I dug that movie much. It was good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Again, that one's Korean too, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. South Korea.
Yeah, fantastic movie. So yeah, that's what I would recommend to horror fans watching this. Go outside of the country. There is so much.
And watch Baskin, and you're gonna just deal with the scars after you've watched it.
And what I mean by that too is like if you actually want a movie that is scary, if you want something that will creep you out, U.S. movies aren't really, jump scares are not scary to me. If you want something that's gonna make you feel dirty when you're done watching it, and heavy and atmosphere, seriously, right? Baskin, you watch the movie, I feel dirty after that. Like you take a shower.
You have absolutely nailed it right there. U.S. horror films are all about jump scares and gross outs, and that's really about it anymore. But when you watch some of these foreign films, they get under your skin. They stick with you for a while, and they'll make sure. Oh, let me turn the lights on because this is kind of freaking me out. So I agree with you 100%, Scott.
Yeah. American horror, like I said, outside of A24 and Blumhouse it's going to just be the same old junk. Which here we're gonna have they just showed it a preview of the new Scream movie, which is kind of interesting because what I took from the preview that I saw is they're trying to go into a serious direction with it. They're not gonna have the the meta
slasher horror in jokes.
I'm
Yeah.
in on that. I'll watch
Yeah, the funny thing is like they're resurrecting all those 90s. I Know What You Did Last Summer is a series on
Yes.
Amazon now. And I'm sorry, but after as much as I really didn't give a shit about the movie, I can't really see myself giving a shit about the series just based on the title alone.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, though, I did watch the first episode of Chucky, and it is not awful. It is not bad. The first half hour it's an hour, so the first half hour, it's exactly what you expected up here to be. Second half, it's kind of a little creative. I'm like, okay, I'll watch a second one. So don't diss it just because it's an episode about a doll.
But you know what? Chucky, I don't think has ever really gone away. Chucky has been like he keeps coming back like every 4 or 5 years. Just when Chucky falls out of the public consciousness, oh hey, by the way, there's a new Chucky movie coming out. So
Oh, and before I forget, to go along with your killer sofa, if you want ones like that are actually bonkers but in a good way, have you seen? Stop me if you heard any of these. Llamageddon.
I have seen it. I have breezed past it several times, and it's
amazing.
not because I will watch it. I will eventually watch it, but like I've been burned by Bingo Hell. Like that movie, it is such a fun idea, and it was such a bad movie. It was uninteresting, unfun. It was preachy and boring, and just I like turned it on with a like, oh, this is gonna be good, and by like 30 minutes into it, I'm like, man, fuck this movie, and then it didn't get any better from there. But I slugged it out. I tested my pain threshold on that one.
Yeah, I would say Llamageddon, Carousel, like Carousel, but Carousel,
Mhm.
and what was? I just watched one called Slacks about a killer pair of jeans.
I watched that too.
Yeah, that's a little different. Llamageddon's been. Oh, Thanksgiving. Have you seen Thanksgiving? Killer turkey. Thanksgiving.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, it's so good. One of the best scenes in all of his movies are in there. When yeah, I'm not gonna give it away. Just watch those. It's
Yeah. If
There's a bunch of
out
movies that you've recommended that I'm gonna watch, but especially the foreign ones. So
if you worked retail, if any of you guys out there ever worked retail, watch Slacks. it gets pretty spot on.
I'm gonna have to jet out. I got some stuff I gotta tend to here.
All right, that's cool. We're gonna wrap up anyway. So
all right,
thank you guys for
see
joining
y'all.
us. We'll see you next time. Whatever that is.
Woo!
Take care.